Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I've had a few requests asking about the W212, asking about the W108. Just had somebody recently ask me about the W108, if I still have it. Certainly I do. I have not sold the W108. That is my girlfriend's car. We'll continue to enjoy that. I found a leak in the power steering gearbox that's going to need some attention. We'll probably get to that next spring because it's going to need a gearbox change out, so not a small project. But yeah, there really hasn't been a lot to report on that front, but I will update you whenever I get around to that. It's going to be stored for the winter here pretty quick. So today I would like to bring you a new purchase that I have made in the classic Mercedes-Benz world, and I'll share that with you right now. And here is the most recent addition. So this is a 1993 Mercedes 300E 2.8, and this is a 71,000 mile car. Well, I actually just turned over 72,000, but I bought it at 71,000 miles and some change, and first owner was an elderly woman, and then it was turned over to an enthusiast who did some of the deferred maintenance and got it all ready to go. There are a couple of things that I'd like to do to it, but for the most part, everything's done that really needs to be done. And a couple of boo-boos, a couple of door dings, and then we have this right here where the elderly woman did actually leave her trunk open when she closed the garage door or opened the garage door. I'm not sure which, but we'll get that taken care of. I have a guy who does some really good body work, and he's going to take care of that for us. But you can see that the interior is in outstanding shape. Power headrests. Power headrests are very nice. Same up front. I mean, everything is in excellent shape. Very, very nice. And then listen to this. This is beautiful. Oh, that sound. That is terrific. But yeah, if you guys are familiar with classic Mercedes, then you're familiar with the W124. It is, you know, thought to be by some as the greatest car ever made. Now, that's debatable. Because obviously the 123 was fantastic, and you know, if nothing else, the W124 is certainly easier to live with on the road. Makes more power, and it's definitely easier to live with in modern traffic, I guess I would say, where the W123 can be a little anemic. But this is it, folks, and I'm really excited about this. I'm going to share a bunch of videos on this thing. We're going to talk about this, a couple of things that need to be done, and yeah, I'm excited about it. So hopefully you guys are excited about following along and seeing where this thing goes. My stepson will be hopefully taking ownership of this after he gets his license. He's getting ready to get his permit, so we'll see how he does, and as long as he's a safe driver like I believe he will be, this will be turned over to him. But if there are obviously any concerns about the care and the attention to detail while driving, we'll probably have to figure something out and maybe delay that a little bit, but I think everything will be just fine, and hoping that I can turn this over to a future enthusiast and help cultivate a classic Mercedes enthusiasm from him. Man, it is ever hot today. Almost 90 degrees here. We're just north of Kansas City, and here we are in mid-October, almost 90 degrees out. So I'm thankful that the air conditioning is cold in this car and I don't have to worry about sweating. Except for while I'm filming, of course, I'll turn the air off as I have to try to keep the noise down. But it is a warm one today. But here we are enjoying the W124, and you know, this is something you know, that I've wanted to do for some time for my stepson, to kind of help motivate him to keep him interested in keeping his grades up and finding employment. He's going to be getting his permit real soon. So it took a great amount of diligence to find a car like this, and I've looked at so many cars. W123s, W126s, a W201, a couple of 124s, and finally settling on this one, which I believe is, one of the best examples of a W124, certainly in the Midwest, that I was going to find for sale. And, the prior owner was a Mercedes enthusiast who purchased this car from an elderly woman with 61,000 miles on it. And then I purchased it with 71,000 miles. He owned it for about 3 years. And since it had sat for a while, he went ahead and took the time to do a lot of the needed maintenance. He went through the cooling system, changed basically all the fluids except for the brake fluid, which we'll do that on our own. And the one neglected item that I know I'm going to have to address is the engine wiring harness. From what I understand, both upper and lower will need to be changed, but the upper is the one that gives problems certainly more frequent or more quickly than the lower. And so that will get our due attention, and I'm probably not going to buy a new harness from Mercedes. There are just too many good examples out there from cars that have been wrecked that had the updated wiring harness, and you can pick them up on eBay for about $1,000 less than a new one from Mercedes. So we'll probably go that route. Not going to do it this fall. This car will also be parked for the winter, and I won't be messing with it at all during the winter. But I definitely wanted to share this with you guys and let you know that we do have another direction that we're going to go with this channel. I will continue to update you on the W108. Again, that car is not sold. That's a car that my girlfriend loves and that she's wanted for a long time, and she's very glad to have it. And you can see here, she was able to take that to her first car show. Share some pictures with you of that. So there's Courtney enjoying her first cruise night and car show. We had a lot of fun with that. So yes, we're still enjoying the W108 for sure. So yes, we are certainly still enjoying that car, and we will get back to it as far as some more videos on that car. Now I'd like to get back to the 124 here. If you're not familiar with the 124, this is the successor of the W123, which most consider to be one of the greatest cars built of all time. So Mercedes really had their work cut out for them to try to follow up the performance that was laid down by that W123. It was a terrific car. They last 1 million miles. Super comfortable, reliable, cheap, and easy to work on. And the 124 retains some of those virtues, although it is a little bit more complex because we're starting to get into the computer age of automobiles here, in the early 90s. This is a 1993. But there are some benefits to that too. This M104 engine really rips compared to an OM617 turbo diesel, and I'm a big fan of the W123, a huge fan. And again, we looked at several of those for my stepson because that's kind of the direction that we wanted to go. But the problem is those doggone things just aren't taken care of by anybody, it seems. And occasionally you might find one that is a little bit better cared for, and then of course they want a fortune for them. And the car is deserving of that. The car is deserving of the value that they're starting to bring. And I say starting to because they've been undervalued for a long time. But in enters the W124, because now this car is really bottomed out as far as value goes. And we're going to do another video probably within the next couple of days. And we're going to talk about whether or not the W124 could be the greatest value in used cars. Now, I know that's lofty, saying that it could be the greatest value,
in used cars, but I paid $4,000 for this, and this car is in excellent shape, cosmetically, mechanically, everything works, cold air conditioning, cruise control works great, 71,000 miles, and the previous owner did a lot of the maintenance that was likely neglected by the first owner, who again was an elderly woman, and she did not put a lot of miles on it. But this car, it does everything well, and that's what we're going to talk about. So we're not going to talk about the greatest used car, period. We're going to talk about the greatest value in used car, because when you talk about what you can get for $4,000, it's not much, and this is a lot of car for $4,000. So we won't get into that too much with this video. We will talk about that with the next video. I just kind of wanted to introduce you guys to this, and I know I haven't posted for a while, so I apologize for that. There hasn't been a lot going on in the car world due to COVID and what have you. So we've been a little quiet with our cars, but this is something that I have been after for a little over a year, trying to get something for him. But my goodness, just listen to how quiet this car is. Motoring down the highway here, it's just fantastic. And this is a pretty windy day, but the wind noise is very, very minimal. I'm almost completely absent at anything below 70, and even fairly well muted at freeway speeds at 70. And the suspension is so supple. Driving this car, you realize why. I mean, this was a $50,000 car in 1993. That's $90,000 by today's dollars, and you can see why. This was built in an era where Mercedes didn't compromise. Mercedes did not build to a price point. They built to a standard, and it cost what it costs. And that's something that they've gone away from, and you can understand why. They have to stay competitive in their market, and we understand that. But man, these were some great cars, and driving this thing is just an absolute dream. This car makes you want to take the long way home, for lack of a better analogy. You don't want to stop driving it. You just want to continue driving. It's such a pleasure to drive. And we'll get into a little bit more of that, a little bit more of what makes this car so special with the next video. But I'm telling you right now, I've owned a lot of automobiles from this era. Remember, I started driving, I turned 16 in December of 96. So really basically 97 is when I started to drive, a lot. And I've owned a lot of vehicles in this price range. I've owned a lot of vehicles in this era, and nothing comes close to this. We're gonna go through a pretty rough road here, so you can kind of see how it absorbs and cancels out a lot of these road imperfections. It really does a fantastic job. It's a great suspension design. But I have never ever driven or owned anything that comes close to this. And I've owned a lot of vehicles. I've never been wealthy, so I've owned a lot of those vehicles that you could consider a stopgap, where you're just owning a vehicle to drive it for a couple of years and hope nothing major goes wrong with it, and then get rid of it. Those $3,000 to $4,000 cars. But this isn't that car at all. This car very easily could outlive me, and as long as it's cared for, it will. These are forever cars. These are cars that are built very, very well and are built to last a very long time. And that shows when you drive one of these and you consider, geez, this thing's 27 years old. And I've been in a lot of modern cars that they're not even on the same page as far as comfort and, the the feeling of driving such a solid automobile. It really is a fantastic dynamic driving experience. But we're going to get into a little bit more of that with the next video. As I said, I just wanted to introduce you guys to this 1993 300e 2.8, and we will talk about why I think this may be among the best used car values out there. I would love to hear your comments, and I will certainly respond to every single one. So don't be afraid to comment on this video or the next. I would love to engage in some conversation with you guys. You know, let me know what you consider to be some of the best values, and we can talk about why, you know, this one may or may not compare favorably to some of the vehicles you consider to be the best values in used cars today. But we will certainly get into that next time. For now, enjoy what is left of the weekend and enjoy this very warm weather if you can, until winter hits and snow starts flying. And until then, I will talk to you later. Thank you very much for watching.